Now that Night of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1 just wrapped up, I wanted to go back and compare Season 1 of Night of the Seven Kingdoms to Season 1 of Game of Thrones and Season 1 of House of the Dragon, which one actually had the best first season. For this video, I'm going to look at how well they adapted their source material, the characters, the plot, the story, and the spectacle/technical side of things. Then I'll give my final ranking of the three at the end. Alright, starting off with how well did these shows adapt their source material. Game of Thrones Season 1 takes the first book and squeezes it into one season. That's a massive, complex, intricate story, and they adapt like 95% of it very faithfully. It's honestly kind of insane how well they pulled that off. Then House of the Dragon is different. They're taking one book, Fire and Blood, and breaking it into 4 seasons, I think is the plan. So they have way more room to breathe, focusing on just one section of that story. And considering that book reads more like a history book, like a textbook almost, I think they did a great job of adding dramatic elements and character depth to make it feel like an actual unfolding story instead of just a recounting of events. Then in Night of the Seven Kingdoms, it doesn't quite have the task the other two had. It's a much smaller scale story, way more contained, and they're splitting that short novella into 2 seasons, so they can pretty much adapt this thing almost word for word. Because of that, I'd say Night of the Seven Kingdoms is probably the best pure adaptation, but I think Game of Thrones Season 1 is a more impressive accomplishment. It was just harder, and the fact that it works as well as it does is kind of crazy. Alright, moving on to the characters. All 3 shows have fantastic standout characters in Season 1. Game of Thrones has the biggest ensemble cast by far, and they do such a great job of introducing everyone and clearly establishing their values, motives, personal codes. I mean, you have the Starks, the Lannisters, the Baratheons, Daenerys Targaryen. It's a lot, but it never really feels messy. House of the Dragon also has a pretty big ensemble, but they focus more tightly on fewer central characters. That allows certain people to really shine. For me, Daemon is easily the standout in Season 1. And then Night of the Seven Kingdoms is at a disadvantage here because it just has fewer characters overall, but Dunk and Baelor are fantastic. They absolutely carry the show. Still, I'd give this category to Game of Thrones. The depth and range of characters in that first season is just on another level in my opinion. Alright, the story and plot, all 3 compelling stories in their first seasons, but Night of the Seven Kingdoms is naturally at a disadvantage because of its scale. It's just a smaller story. That doesn't make it bad by any means, but it does make it less epic and less layered compared to the other 2. If I'm watching House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones Season 1 for the very first time, I honestly think my initial reaction would be that I'm more immediately hooked by House of the Dragon story. But on rewatch, I think Game of Thrones Season 1 easily tops it. Once you know the characters, once you've seen the later seasons, there's so much in Season 1 that you didn't fully appreciate the first time. There are layers, setups, subtle moments that hit harder when you go back. House of the Dragon is great, but I don't think it has the same rewatch depth. So for me, I'm giving the edge to Game of Thrones Season 1 here. Alright, the spectacle/technical side of things, big battles, standout sequences, visuals, I think House of the Dragon wins this one actually. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, again, it's limited here. The Trial of Seven is a good scene, but it's more subdued. It fits with the tone of the show. It's not trying to be massive. Game of Thrones Season 1 didn't really have the budget yet. This was before the show exploded in popularity. There are some great fights and moments, but nothing on the level of later seasons. House of the Dragon Season 1 though, Daemon fighting the crab feeder, all the dragon sequences, House Targaryen at the height of their power. Visually, technically, spectacle-wise, I think House of the Dragon takes it here. Alright, so my final ranking. I think all 3 first seasons of these shows are great, but if I have to rank them, 3rd place, Night of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1, 2nd place, House of the Dragon Season 1, and 1st place, Game of Thrones Season 1. Night of the Seven Kingdoms is just smaller, less layered story by nature. House of the Dragon Season 1 is great, but I think it's a little more straightforward and surface level. Game of Thrones Season 1 is intricate, complex, layered, and it rewards you more on rewatch than the other 2 do. That's my ranking. Let me know your ranking of these 3 shows' first seasons in the comments down below, and like, follow, and subscribe for more videos like this.